let's talk about Prisma Cloud and Palo Alto.
Absolutely, thank you, Arjan. Great being here with you on this video series. So Palo Alto and Prisma Cloud. So Palo Alto was presenting with Prisma Cloud, which is a data posture security management and data detection and response solution. So we're right there into the security acronyms. The fun never ends. So the first thing I want to say is that was a great session. Because when I saw the Palo Alto name, I thought, oh my God, these are going to be firewalls and switches and I don't know what. And I was really kind of, I'm going to pass out during this session probably. No, I didn't. It was really cool. So basically, if you ask me what is data security posture management, there's a part of it which is around data classification. So understanding what kind of data you have, understanding, whether there is a risk profile to the data, either you have personally identifiable information, stuff which is in scope of GDPR, and so on. So, the classical stuff that we used to cover when we did research together on unstructured data management. So that was the cool aspect of it. The other aspect of that is that it has a kind of a more security-focused element to it. So it is looking at static risk identification. So it's trying to identify if you have misconfigured permissions, if, for example, data storage buckets are open to the public internet, if there are, data sovereignty aspects and so on. So that was for data security posture management. And the other one, data detection and response, is more focusing on real-time, detection of potential attacks and so on. So how do you get alerts? How do you automate the response and so on? So that's it in a nutshell, about what was the area of the presentation, not the product.
No. So it's really interesting because a lot of companies are struggling with those problems, right? How do I make sure that the data that I have is secured in a way that it's still accessible for the people that need it, but is protected from whatever it doesn't need. So even within the company, right? It's not only from the outside, but it's also from the inside, right? So it's really interesting to see what Palo Alto has to offer there. And maybe you can share some insights on what they told about that.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing, with Prisma Cloud is that this product is really focused on cloud workloads. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing because you get a very comprehensive coverage of all your data footprint in the cloud. So it's not just that I have an S3 bucket here, that I'm using some storage there on Azure or Google Cloud, but it's also covering other elements like, database as a service. So it's also looking, for example, at Salesforce, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's looking at forgot the name of that other thing, but in any case, it's looking at more areas within it, right? So I think even some managed asset like data repositories and so on. But so what is interesting here is the fact that it allows you to see everything within public cloud. So that's really great. The downside to it is that if you're an organization, chances are that you also have an on-prem footprint. Unfortunately, the product is not covering that. So that's one of the, I would say, only key thing I would, ask, Palo Alto to look at. It's to, improve that visibility. The other aspect which is interesting is the presentation started on the fact that CIOs are unaware about, they have no visibility on the data footprint, on data usage, adherence to policies, to regulatory compliance. They are not aware of what's happening from a security perspective, going back to the DDR aspect. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I was asking to Palo Alto is, okay, who are you selling that to? Are you selling that to the security guys? Are you selling that to the data administrator? Because, it's not just about the tools, because we have tools, right? We have tools in unstructured data management. We've covered those together. And I think that we have our, it's one of our pet peeves, dealing with those companies. There's this great aspect from a security perspective, but what I'm interested, and I think that the industry perhaps hasn't solved yet, or maybe it's not there to solve everything, is how do we bridge the gap between, in a way, the storage people, in another way, the security people, right? Because you want to have a unified view of the security aspect and the data management aspect, because here we get the security, but we don't have all of the other things that we want to do. We've identified the data. Okay, now I need to do something with it. So but I don't have the capability within the product to migrate the data. So I'm thinking what needs to happen now is that going to grow as a separate, thing, which is, just for the security people. Another thing there. The other thing which I also missed is obviously you do have the possibility to grant access to different personas within the organization. But what I was missing, and I will be also interested to get your thoughts on that, is I'm kind of missing the organizational data view, right? So in my view, it should be someone from the organization, so a kind of a compliance function or a data officer, under the CIO or whatever. I'm not an expert at those things, by the way, but it should be driven somehow within the organization, that someone is looking at the data from a compliance perspective and should be somehow telling the teams, work together, use the technology and so on. But maybe we'll never get there. So, tell me what you think about that.
I totally agree with you. I think Palo Alto has more to offer than just these solutions. So I think they've got more to offer for organizations as well. They've got a broad portfolio to help organizations. Probably for another video, but SOAR is one of those things that they do as well. It is a security-based organization, right? So that's where they really focused on. That's what they do, and that's what they've been doing for many years. So probably more on the security side of things, but I totally agree with you that you have to have the complete organization, should have the visibility into what's going on within the data infrastructure of the organization. So it's really important to get them involved as well. And so maybe there's something to do there. I'm not totally sure. I'm not an expert as well, but I do see those things popping up at companies that I work for. So really interesting. You wrote an article on it. I really urge the people to look at it. We'll cover it down below and make sure that you can read that as well. And maybe we'll do a couple of other videos on this one as well. Thank you for this one.